2020 HEDRA committee meeting here tonight. So we'll open up with a new member here. So we have an oath for Ben Anderson. So John, did you want to take care of that?
Thank you, President Gobush. I've got an oath of office that I do administer to our newest HEDRA Commissioner, Ben Anderson. So I'm very happy to have Ben with us tonight. Ben, if you could stand up, raise your hand. If you could please repeat after me. I, Ben Anderson, do affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America, the Constitution of the State of Minnesota, and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Hastings, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of a HEDRA Commissioner for the City of Hastings, counties of Dakota and Washington, and State of Minnesota, according to the best of my ability and understanding. Welcome, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so congratulations, Ben, and we look forward to working with you. So next on the agenda is our minutes from last month, and wonder if there's had a chance to review them, and if there's any additions or subtractions that we need to make. If not, I'd look for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed, and that carries. Next on the agenda is our bills. So, John, if you want to go over that for us.
Sure. Bills we had for July had a facade improvement grant payment for about $2,300, and then some legal bills and MPCA and CenterPoint Energy. So that's what we had for bills for July.
Any questions for John, or not? Look for a motion to approve the bills.
Motion to approve.
And second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, and that carries. Next, we have first line of business is to 1 month extension for facade improvements on a grant for 119 2nd Street East and also 2216 Vermilion Street.
Thank you. Just to recap the program that we're looking at here, we had a facade improvement grant program that we issued early in 2022 to provide reimbursement for improvements to downtown and Vermilion Street businesses. We went through the funding. It's been a really good program and been well utilized. There have been a couple of projects, however, that have not been able to meet the deadlines for the installation of improvements. We have two of those here tonight, one being El Mexican at 119 2nd Street East and Trophies Plus at 2216 Vermilion. Both had some delay in that. What we're asking for is to extend the required grant term from August 14th to September 14th. We're confident in speaking to both entities that they will be able to provide the necessary receipts for payment at that time. So looking for a motion to include the both of those, and I can stand for any questions.
Mark, Commissioner?
Thank you. John, I see we got one for one, or two for 1 month and another one for 2 months. Is it just save time to give them 2 month extensions so we don't push them at all to, I get it, things get backed up, we've seen it before, so I would recommend it's 2 months and ask them to keep plugging along, but I just think we're gonna get another one right in front of us here for a 2 month extension. I think that we should allow these two businesses to go 2 months.
Staff would have no objection to that.
I would make a motion then that we approve the 2 month extension for these two businesses, and otherwise as written in the packet here.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That carries. And then the next one is a 2 month extension for 1800 Vermilion Street for Clear Choice Pool and Spa. So did we approve that one as well?
No, that would need action as well, but same situation, circumstances on that.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Third next on the agenda is Resolution 2022-29, approving the First Amendment for the development contract between River City Investments and HEDRA.
Thank you. Yeah, this is for the Luke Seward apartment project in downtown. It involves both property that Mr. Seward owns and a property that we own downtown, which is right now a parking lot. And we did enter into a development agreement for construction of 32 apartment units on the property. The project continues to move forward, did go through some bidding. The bidding for the construction of the project was more expensive than Mr. Seward had anticipated. He is looking at rebidding that and looking at this as a spring 2023 project. Under the contract that we signed for the property, we have the closing needing to take place by August 1st, which certainly it did not. What we're looking to do is to amend the contract to revise that closing date and put it out 1 year. I don't believe that we will need the full year, but as Commissioner Vaughn had just stated, it's better to be on the safe side here with some of these extensions. I'm hopeful that he can move forward on this one in the spring, and then we'll be able to close on the property. One thing that has changed on the revised closing date is we also had a redevelopment incentive grant from Dakota County to fund part of the project, primarily the demolition of the home that is on his property. And so we're asking with this amendment that in order to be in good standing with that grant, that the demolition take place by December 31st. So everything else on that contract would remain the same. We're asking tonight for the resolution to support the amendment. And I could stand for any questions.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Thank you. John, I can support this, but my biggest question is, the packet says it's due to building costs. The budget came in over more than he wanted. We have other developments going on that are not stopping due to rising costs. Going through some of these redevelopment things and costs of construction, what if it comes in even higher? Everything we always hear is things are escalating, so we better do it today or rising prices. I want to make sure our agreement has some teeth to it, saying you can't use that again. You can't keep saying building costs, because I think anytime public property is involved, we need to have a little more say in what the project's going to be. That piece of property that we own, that we sold very inexpensive, is going to sit there. And I just don't think it's fair to everybody else that might have wanted to buy that. Granted, they don't have the house next to it. It would have been not much we can do with it. I just want to make sure that, does this agreement have enough for this developer to say, I just need to rebid it once. I just want to make sure I got everything right. Are they going to change the type of product they're using, and does that delay more things that we have to sign off on? Those are all the questions that we can read it, that's their reason why, but ultimately everybody else is still building. We're building one right next to it that not stopping their development. Granted, it's bigger, so it might be economy of scale, but I'm a little hesitant on this one, approving it as. That's my 2 cents.
Sure. I can offer a little point of clarification on that as well. With the development contract that we have not sold the property as of yet. So we're setting the terms for sale of the property, one of those being the closing date and the receipt of all the land use entitlements for construction of the project. We understand that land has intrinsic value in it, and we don't want to have that property transfer prematurely. And so part of this contract here would be you have to have your financing in place. We need to be sure of this project that it's a go prior to us deeding the property over to you at that point. The rest of it really comes down to a matter of patience from our standpoint. Is it the property itself is small and really would need to be developed in conjunction with the property next door owned by Mr. Seward on this one. Not large enough to be developed on its own. So I'm hopeful that Mr. Seward can fulfill the obligations, move forward on the project on that one. But in the end, we will still retain the property until we are sure that he can.
Then a follow-up. I hear the word hope, and I get a little nervous about hope after the Confluence project here, full disclosure here. But anytime we have a piece of property the city owns or HEDRA owns, and then when we help get this RIG grant secured by the city of Hastings, to me, we have a little more say in this product. This one, we can go on hope, but I want to see some progress reports or set some timelines and say, here's where we're at. That house should not be knocked down on December 28th. It should be knocked down here before the snow flies, in my opinion, that it really shows some progress versus we're going to get to it, and I don't want them pushing it to the very end. So I'll support this, but my message to staff is, to the developer, I would highly recommend they make the effort to give some updates to us and to the community about this project, because the community, in my opinion, is somewhat vested in this because we have some properties here. Thank you.
Commissioner Brox?
My question is for John. So what happens if we have other interest in this property in the interim while we're waiting for something to happen? What if another property owner or developer is interested in the land? Are we locked into this agreement?
Commissioner, we would be, yeah. We're locked into transferring this property over to Mr. Seward, provided he meets the requirements of the contract. And we would, as it's written right now, we would be in that position until August 1st of 2023.
So my position would be, I'm interested in one extension, but I would not be interested in any further extensions of this contract. I think we have given a lot of time, effort, planning, contributed a lot to the project, and I do want to see it move forward, but I think there's a threshold at which we need to seek other opportunities.
Commissioner Anderson?
John, how long will it take to get a bid for this?
Commissioner, he may have something in the next couple of months. I think it would be important for him, from the discussion I've heard tonight, to keep providing us updates for this group here so that he knows that. And I think the message that I can move forward with him tonight is that the periodic updates and the progression of this project to something real is highly important to this group.
What does the timeline look like and ownership look like of demolishing this home before December 31st, when we still own the property? So if that has to happen and he's serious about this and everything, who pays for that?
Sure. And with that one, there's two properties involved in it. One he owns where the house is, so that he's in full control. He could do that whenever we would like. And then the other one we own as a parking lot. That's part of that.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
So, just a question, as far as that grant is concerned, he has to do some type of improvements this
Correct.
year to keep that valid, or?
Yes, he has to show some sign of progression and spend some money on that. So in speaking with the grant staff at Dakota County, the demolition of the house on his private property there would constitute enough to keep that valid. It wouldn't have to be fully expended.
Okay. Yeah, because that, I mean, if for some reason it doesn't go through next year, he's just demolished his house, which is
Right.
kind of a tough thing to swallow for him, I'm sure, so. Okay, any other questions?
What was the basis for the August 1st, 2023 timeline? Is it just a year, just because it's plenty of time, or?
No, it's a very, very good question on that one. Eric and I went back and forth on this one because we were thinking, well, if we put a few months on there, hopefully it'll put his feet to the fire a little bit. Then we came up with the conclusion of, I don't want to be back here making amendments. We'll put on for a year, and I think we're done at a year. Because we've had that happen on a few of these that have come forward, where every quarter, say, we may have an amendment to a contract. And, you know, I'd rather set what I would term a realistic goal, and if it doesn't work, move on.
Okay. Yeah, because to Lori's point with the, between the confluence, fingers crossed it's going to get done soon, and the other apartment going in really close to there, there could be some higher interest in this property with more things coming downtown and getting done,
Yeah.
within a year.
Any other questions?
So is the demolition of the home another milestone where if that doesn't get done, the contract is voided? Or would it not be for the full year?
Yeah, that would also be a point in the contract of default, is if he did not do that by the end of the year.
Okay.
Because, from our standpoint, we put in time and effort towards getting this grant in order to be used on the properties. We want to be able to make sure that we can use it.
Commissioner Brox?
It seems similar to, not to keep analogizing to the Confluence project, but I think it is a good analogy because it's happened over time and it's been slow in progression and it's taken a lot of different partnerships and grants, but they had a grant that they needed to use for the landscaping, I believe. And so the landscaping went in and the landscaping got done, and that was one phase, and that had to be used by the end of a certain year so that that funding was kept. This reminds me a lot of that. So I look forward to the demolished house or on his property, but I think I would expect in this case to see more rapid movement than what we've seen in that case.
Okay.
Would it make sense to match those two dates up? The demolition of the house and the purchase of the land? Because I think he's pretty committed to it if he does demolish his home.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I'm looking at it here is, it's really two steps here. The demolition of the home by the end of this year, and then the closing prior to August. I'd rather keep it the way it is right now, but with the understanding that if he cannot move forward with demolition by December 31st, that August 1st date's inconsequential. The contract's void at that point.
Okay.
I'll make a
Commissioner
motion then to approve it with the agreement that's in front of us here. It's this house to be demolished by the end of the year, and then 1 year, August 1st, 2023 is when the next step needs to be done, but also with the recommendation that developer should keep us posted with some updates. Thank you.
We have a motion, a second.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that carries.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next item here, we have a consent and estoppel certificate for Lake Isabel Flats. Lake Isabel Flats is the stencil project, the former UBC property that HEDRA owned, 89-unit apartment building on that site. We have closed on the property. Financing has closed on the property. However, there was a request during closing that the developer's collateral assignment be authorized to HEDRA in the private contract, in the TIF contract, and that was not done at that time. So we're asking for that to be done tonight, and I have that before you if you have any questions. We did have our TIF attorney review this, and she supports the execution of the document.
Okay. Any questions for John? If not, we looking for a motion to approve the signature of the consent of the estoppel certificate for Lake Isabel Flats LLC.
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second?
And all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that carries. And then next is our discussion for Land for the Dollar Land Credit Incentive Program.
Sure. Last meeting, we had an introduction to this subject here, and it deals with our Land for a Dollar program that we've had it established in our industrial park for some time now. The project has had a lot of great yields out there. Within the packet, you can see a number of projects that have gone through. The question that we have before you is, should this be something that should be considered to continue? When you take a look at the use of this project, the use of these funds over the last few years, it was really prevalent back before about 2007. I remember doing a lot of these types of projects. Since that time, we have not had as many of them. What we have left remaining in the industrial park is one large parcel, about 55 acres, and then we have a handful. We probably have about 2.5 acre parcels and 3 1+ acre parcels. Point being, the major target market for this, which were the kind of small Hastings grown developers, we don't have as much of that land left at this point. And we are in the position right now of trying to determine what role we play in the future in helping out industrial development. Because at present, beyond the Hastings Industrial Park, we don't have any other land really zoned industrial in the city. And so when we were looking at the 55-acre shovel-ready project and speaking with potential developers and marketers of it, we learned that the Land for a Dollar program was not of terrible interest to those individuals. So, and from looking at it from our standpoint of, we would like to be able to get some income generated through the sale of that property so that we could assist in purchasing or providing assistance to develop more industrial property in the future. And that really is our key ability to do that, is to get a cash return on that larger piece, most certainly. The other is kind of a philosophy standpoint. I mean, we want to, in most other programs that we have the philosophy of becoming involved in a project if a gap establishes itself. Where within this Land for a Dollar program, we're making an assumption at the beginning, right or wrong, that this subsidy is needed regardless of any proven need. And so that's kind of a disconnect from other things and other programs that we have, that we manage. It doesn't mean if we were to get rid of this program that we would not be would not be able to provide assistance with a purchase of land for someone that needs it, but it will really take away the assumption up front that is ultimately needed, and we could get some cash return on some of these properties. So that's the discussion I'm laying out for you folks tonight. Our recommendation is to discontinue the program at this point. We would like to be able to have cash sales of the property and be able to use those properties in reserve so that we could assist in either purchase or helping it develop other industrial park in the future. So I can stand for any questions.
Any questions for John?
John, would you mind talking a little bit about, did they talk, these developers you were discussing this with for the 55 acres, did they have any feedback as to why they weren't interested in the program?
From their standpoint, the time it took to go through this program and the reporting was not worth their effort on a large property like this, which is a little surprising to me, but that's what we heard back.
So they would rather pay fair market value for the property?
They would rather pay fair market value for the property and have some other incentives of some other sorts, but not that.
Okay.
Any other questions? Commissioner Vaughn?
Mine's more of a comment. I can support it. I think it's okay to let it go, because I think industrial park, to me, was kind of hitting its limit of because what, in this report that we have here, the thing I kept looking at was jobs. I think the next phase of the next city council and Hedgerow should be looking at jobs. I think we started seeing some home growth, and I think that's got some momentum. I think this group should either get into a workshop session and focus on the job side of it and find, if we do any incentives, it's got to be job-based. And because I think if the jobs come, it's going to help offset some of this. I'm with you. We need that revenue for the sale of it, but also jobs that we can kind of make sure that they're here. Because I think we've lost a couple of properties that we sold for $1 because they didn't hit that job creation. That was hard to swallow. And then it goes on to a sale and we kind of lose it in the dust. But I can support letting it go for now. What I like about it is you can always bring it back if we have to. But I think the next focus should be on jobs.
Any other comments? None. I've liked the program from a banker standpoint in the past. It has come in helpful in putting together packages and financing different deals. However, again, the last 10 years, it really hasn't worked the way it's supposed to, so I think it is time to try something different as well. So I would be in support of it as well. So looking for a motion. Oh,
Yeah, John, I'm guessing that, are they looking at more of a tax incentive? That's more of a longer-term incentive that they can cash in on for, the next 10 years versus kind of a one-time benefit that they got the land for cheaper? Is that what they're looking for?
Could be. I mean, from discussions I've had with developers, that would be consistent, yes.
Okay. So that's something that we'd be interested in then, maybe some kind of.
Could be. I mean, especially with that larger 55-acre property, it's different than any other thing we have in town right now. And I'm imagining that we may be in the position of reacting to a specific request at this point and seeing that that falls into the criteria that we've established for providing subsidy.
Thank you.
Okay. So looking for a motion to rescind the land for $1 in the business incentive program.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. And next, we have our update from Intech Plastics Expansion.
Yes, we did hear some good news from the state of Minnesota DEED that the application for the Job Creation Fund and the MIF dollars, which one's $450,000, one is $975,000, were both approved at the state level. So that's great news. We're going through the details right now on the contracts, how those will be set up, and we'll have a portion of those executed at City Council coming up on Monday night. So we've got the authority from the state to be able to do these things. The city of Hastings would be kind of an intermediary as far as the forgivable loan portion of this part, so the council will be taking action on that on Monday night. So we're hopeful that the project here will move forward within Hastings, and there was some discussion, and part of the prerequisites for the consideration of these funds were that there was some competition, there is some competition on this site with another state. So we're hopeful that that final decision is made here, and we've got the funds to help do that. So that's all good news. So that's more of an update, and I can stand for any questions you may have on that. And then within your packet, we had an open to business update from MCCD. There was inquiries from 9 businesses and 6 residents. The big thing that they helped us out with was with Spiro Foods Co-op and their recent move and expansion. We were over there on a ribbon cutting ceremony about a week or 2 ago. It's quite a place. It's much larger than the other side of it, which was surprising to me. I kind of scratched my head towards the beginning and went, are they really accomplishing a lot here? And yeah, it is. It's a lot bigger space, and it's great to see that this business has been able to sustain itself and grow through the many changes in their physical address over the years. So that's all great news there. And then as far as information going on growth and development here, we continue to plug away at our business incubator. We're working on program guidelines and partnerships so that we can figure out what the need is and what the cost would be. That's also in conjunction with some grant funds that received from the Doffing Fund. There was an approval of KFC for construction at 18th and Vermillion Street. Don't have a time frame from KFC yet as to when that will begin. Fleet Farm will be opening up on September 9th, so they're doing their final work, especially on the outside storage facility as we speak. The Makers Market alleyways, we got a couple more dates of those moving forward in August, but those have been pretty well attended. We've made some changes on that at the request of vendors to make things more visible, which is great. Council on Monday is going to consider what we term a interim use permit for United Heroes League down on Ravenna Trail. They're looking to put in an outdoor ice arena and a gravel parking lot in the interim, and then pave the parking lot in about 1.5 years. So that'll be up for consideration. Other projects on the residential side, Heritage Ridge is moving forward with their approval of the last edition. That'll be before council on Monday. They'll start grading this fall, and then home construction on that phase in the spring. Enclave Apartments, they've closed on the property. Building permits are just about ready to be issued. Financing has been secured on that one. We've got some development agreements moving forward on Monday on that one. They're looking to, one change in that is that they're going to be looking to phase that project in and have the first building along 33rd Street first, and then the second building as a separate permit at a later date, but putting in all the infrastructure as far as utilities as they move forward with the first edition. And that's probably it for the new updates, and can stand for any questions you may have on that.
Commissioner Vaughn?
Thank you. John, I got a question from a resident, and I think we've already kind of discussed it, was about the Storewood Inn property, and I see in our packet says the work continues. We've had some other fire damaged buildings, houses, in the past, and this might be more of a city council thing, but I just wonder if there's some tools that we can help, I'd say neighbors, about process. After so many months, you shouldn't have to live next to it that says after 6 months, it either needs to be demolished, or there's got to be a plan that has timelines to it. I know this one has got a timeline now, it's starting to move along, but I just think, I know we have administrative citations at the council level now that we just approved. That might help, but it brought a little bit of awareness. I've seen it. If I had to live next to a house, and unfortunately, if it gets burned down, I don't know insurance, I don't know how all that all works, and I don't know about the family's situation. But sooner or later, we gotta have something that the neighbors could say, have you implemented something to help that move it along? It might be more of a city council discussion. I just wanted to bring it up today because it reminded me on the forward.
Sure.
So, people asked, I didn't have the details on the Thorwood, what it should be, but, I just said it's moving forward. But I don't want to pick on our confluence. I've been saying that's been moving forward for years too, but it's not there yet. So, I noticed that there's no new updates from that property either. So I think the residents want to know updates. It's that simple. So anybody that's got something, and this is good, we got great developments, but how do we find a way to communicate these steps or where things are at?
Sure.
Just comments more than anything. Thank you.
Yeah, related to the Thorwood building in particular there, yeah, I mean, that's been too long. And I understand the frustration of anyone who's seen that, lives next to it. From lessons learned in our standpoint, one of the things we have implemented is there's state law has the ability for cities to take a portion of the insurance proceeds on fire damaged buildings and hold them to make sure improvements are done. So we did take action to do that on future fire situations, and there has been a couple of those that have come up. So that's one action we have taken on that. The other one is really just it's a tough thing as far as how we want to be able. Everyone would love to see that building back to the way it was, but how realistic is that? It's a very costly endeavor. We have an individual right now that appears to have the experience and the financing to do it. Like to see that, but boy, it's a tough project. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or
No,
comments?
that's all I had.
Okay. In the confluence, I hate to bring it up, but
Yeah.
everybody else is. What is the estimated time now?
The estimated time on that one, I don't have an updated estimated time. I can tell you what's been happening within the project itself. I was down there about a week ago. Most of the mechanical equipment has been put in as far as HVAC. They're working on electric right now. Most of the walls have been studded up. Some of those are being sheetrocked at this point. So you're seeing a lot more work on the interior of the building. Did notice a lot more window work going on the last week or two, so they're getting some more of the refurbished windows back there. So there still continues to be a lot of activity down there. As far as what the opening date would be, I don't have an update at this point.
Okay. Commissioner Vaughn?
I could follow up with that though, because sooner or later, we're gonna have to pay a bill. And is it looking like we're probably gonna have to pay the bill this year?
Nope. That's one thing we did secure with the last amendment, is that if they are not, if they don't have substantial completion by, I think it's October 31st, then they are on the hook to pay the full taxable value of a completed building at that time. And so we stipulated that in the last agreement. So we won't be on the hook from a financial standpoint.
That's exactly what I was looking for, and I think the community needs to know that.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing that, because
Yeah.
I think that was important to me and some of my colleagues, so thank you.
Any other comments or questions? If not, look for a motion to adjourn. And so moved, and second, and all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, and